Hi, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Women of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Women of Inspiration podcast, where we interview inspiring women who lead by example, ignore the naysayers, and just know how to get things done. They are incredible women from all walks of life, making an impact locally, nationally, and globally. And a very special treat today. We are interviewing with our 2019 Woman of Inspiration Global Impact Award recipient, Joan Kelley Walker. Joan, it is so exciting. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to have the tables turned to interview you today on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. For those of you who don't know Joan, I don't know how many people, you're a celebrity. You are definitely touching so many different people on so many different levels. Joan is, above anything, she is a philanthropist. This wonderful, amazing woman. You've been with World Vision for 18 plus years. You're an ambassador on so many other programs. You've got your own clothing line, and I want to talk about that. What inspired you to make clothes for women, the everyday women? That's at Walmart. So that's joankellywalker.com, your collection. And you're a TV host, most known for the celebrity TV host for the Real Housewives of Toronto. So I want to talk about all of that stuff, find out, how you started. So let's dive in.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really am grateful for this way of connecting women, and you've surrounded yourself with such a dynamic group of women. And especially right now, more than ever, it's really important that people have that outlet to reach out to each other and support each other. So thank you, Monica.
Well, thank you, Joan. And thank you for joining me. And I want to just pay attention here to the date. Actually, what day is it? Hold on. It is the 6th.
The 5th.
Is it the 5th?
It's the 5th. It's Sunday. It's Palm Sunday.
Of days, but I know that on March 11th, of this past month, only 4 weeks ago, the WHO declared this a global pandemic. Mm-hmm. So it's a historical time in our world where, everybody's experiencing the same thing. We are still embracing our new normal. And this is a Sunday afternoon. I don't typically do podcasts on a Sunday afternoon, but I am taking every opportunity while people have space in their schedules to do interviews. Mm-hmm. Just because it's so important that we talk about inspiring stories and just for everybody. Oh, just a moment here. I'm just going to press pause because I have a
big dog.
My four-legged dog here has decided that she wants my attention. So just a sec, I'll press pause. Our live is going to keep going. So that was almost like a commercial break. I had to give my dog a bone and say, please, please be quiet for the rest of the recording, because I am recording from my home, as everybody is working from home right now during this global pandemic. So before we start in and share the story, let's talk about, you're working from your home right now. We're doing the interview over Zoom. How are you doing right now, Joan?
Wow. Right away, I just got really emotional because this is hard. Like there's some difficult moments in this. Last night we did a Zoom for one of my friend's birthdays, and it was so great to see everyone, but it made me really forlorn and really miss people, and interacting with people and, doing my thing and, am I driving my kids crazy? I don't know, probably. I'm sure they're sick. And, I'm here alone in my house. I'm trying to stay on top of everything and cook and clean. And I just feel like the whole house is not the way I want it to be. There's a lot of frustrating things, but the biggest thing that's happening in my life right now is my mom is in a nursing home, and we cannot get to her. We moved her in the middle of all this. We moved her 6 days ago because she was coming from a hospital. She does not have COVID, but they had to treat her as if she has COVID. So they wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't allow her personal belongings in. And, I understand why. It's just really hard because she's there alone. It's a new place. She's had a stroke. She's not herself. It's scary. and we can't be there to help. So that is the worst thing in the world. Every day I wake up and I'm grateful that she's there, but it's just so hard not to support her right now. Moving a parent to a nursing home is the hardest thing at any time. And normally there's a whole way of communicating and supporting that person through this. And it's, they're doing the best that they can, but there's a lot of things falling through the cracks. And I just worry constantly about her. So that's for sure the hardest thing. And I know that there's a lot of people out there whose loved ones are in the hospital, or they just can't get to them, or they're isolated. And so it's a commonality, and it's reality right now. And so, for me, it's my mom, and that's front and center.
Well, I know that we had talked about your support system, just going through your career, and your mom has been one of your biggest supporters. So I know that relationship is certainly very key, and that is a challenge. I know all of the parents in our age group, they're 70s onwards, and they're choosing to self-isolate. So it's like, we can wave to each other, we can drive by, we can talk on the phone, we can look through windows, we can do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But just to protect them, there's no hug. There's no physical connection. So all you have is the phone or FaceTime FaceTime.
And a lot of seniors, they don't, like my mom doesn't know how to use an iPad. She doesn't even have one anyway. And the home that she's in won't bring one into her because they don't want to contaminate it, because they're using the same iPad for the other patient. So I understand that. But so the phone is the lifeline. And it's hard for her with her stroke to actually, do all the dial 9 to get out, and then 1, and then the area code. And it's a lot of numbers for her to manage right now. So even the phone is difficult. And, she's in there, there's no TV, she doesn't have a radio. It's like, what does she do all day? Like, what do you do to stimulate your brain? Like, we're all at home watching Netflix, watching podcasts, reading, cleaning the storage room, like doing things to busy ourselves. But, some people, they can't. So I think that's one of the biggest frustrating things.
I saw one picture, and it was an assisted living home where everybody had a little table outside of their rooms, and they were actually practicing social distancing in the home, but lined up on the corridors, and they were trying to play bingo or something like that.
I saw that one. That was beautiful.
Thought, how brilliant. And I guess it's up to each individual complex to make everybody feel as connected as possible. But I know that when you're a connector and I'm a connector, it's just, we always want to do more.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Of course you do. And, I want her to be happy. We want her to have such a nice experience in there. And it's been like, it's been a hard transition, to say the least. It's been a very hard transition. And that's been all of 2020 for me. Like, this stroke happened on January the 14th. So, I've been kind of living this. All of 2020 has been, the stroke, and now it's COVID. So I feel like, I don't know, energetically something in the universe has shifted, or something has happened, and things are not what they used to be. And there's a lot of changes and a lot of transitions. And I think some of it is really good, because some of the things that are really important will stay or rise to the top, and the rest of it can just go away. And that's okay. It's a good time to really literally clean house.
So let's talk about some of those things that are sticking for you. I mean, you have so many different projects on the go. How are you choosing which ones to focus your limited time on? And maybe we can talk about, your clothing line. Is that front and center right now a priority? I mean, I can see that being such a great big, there's a need for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, just to explain to people, I started the clothing line after the Real Housewives of Toronto, after the TV show came out, because I had some notoriety, and I thought, you know what, how am I going to use this to actually do some good in the world? So I thought, okay, let's do a clothing brand that's accessible to all women. It's a designer brand, high quality, high fashion, but you can buy it at Walmart. So it's, anybody can have it. It's machine washable. So that was the concept. But then I'm giving the whole purpose of this brand is for me to give all of my profits to charity. And the charity that I chose is Breakfast Club of Canada because they're national. And I wanted to support children in our country. So that's how the brand was born. And since my mom's stroke, I have just kind of really put it on a shelf. And it was time for a change with the brand anyway. And I really feel like the timing was kind of serendipitous. It just sort of, it was time. Like I needed to make some changes there. So, I just let it just be. And then the COVID thing happened and all these businesses are struggling so much. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody's going to know what's on the other side of this. I do have a few options of how to keep the brand, going after this, because when you lead with your heart and you go into something that's really big like this for all the right reasons, I think it has its own identity. Like there's not many brands out there that are doing so much for charity. And there's only one other one that I've ever heard of that is giving 100% of their profit to support the charity. And I wanted to think outside the box and I wanted to challenge other people, especially in the world of fashion and design, to give back, like somehow give what you can, when you can, and how you can, just, incorporate that in your thinking and the DNA of the brand. And that's really important. I think right now more than ever, everybody needs support. Everybody needs support emotionally and through their family and with their businesses or with their job or having just lost their job. Like things are happening so quickly that COVID has really, got a loudspeaker out saying it's time to support one another.
And I think that what is really critical is the leadership that is rising through this time. And, so how important, Joan, do you believe that leadership, female leadership, and raising the bar for female leadership is right now?
Well, I look at the female leaders that we're seeing on the TV right now, like Sophie Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and our health minister. There are women that we're seeing every day, and we're getting to know these women, and they are doing all that they can and everything in their capacity. And we all wear so many hats: mothers, wives, daughters, whatever the role is. Even the the media personalities, like, we're seeing people in their homes for the first time ever. And you're seeing a more intimate view of people. And like, even talking to you today, I love it. Like, oh my God, my light burnt out. Now what do I do? It's like, you deal with it, right? Nothing is perfect. And nobody knows how this is going to end. Or how long it's going to take, but I think it's really given an opportunity for people to clean house, to ask for help, and to give help, however that looks.
And I think that's really important, is to ask for help. I, have been having a couple interviews, and that's kind of a common thing that's coming up right now, is that we are in a time where we're able to ask for help. So with the current state of what's happening, we are all touched by this around the world. So we're not in our own space, and if where people are asking, how are you, versus everybody not even knowing what's going on in your world, right?
Yeah.
So
versus what are you doing? Like, it used to be, what are you doing? Oh, I've got this project and that project. Forget that. It's how are you? How's your core? How's your heart?
Yeah. And it's just really an important time to embrace kind of that we are in it together. Like nobody's singled out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're always going through something very different. But what
Yeah.
I really want to talk about, Joan, is, you know, how did you get to Toronto? How did you get? Let's switch
Mm-hmm.
gears just a little bit here. Like you're in a position of influence and of power, if you want to say power. I like the word influence is really great. You do a lot of giving back, and you're in a space where you can give back. How did you get to where you are? You grew up in Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in a little wee tiny town that's not even big enough to be a town or a village. It's called a hamlet. So it's Wilcox is the name of it. Very small community, very much centered around the church. My dad was a grain farmer. My mom was a nurse. And although she didn't work after the kids were born, but you know, it's very grounding to be, you know, from a farming community, like pardon the pun, but it really is. And there's another opportunity where people help each other. You know, if you're, you know, if you're able to help the farmer down the road, then you do, and people lean on each other for support, and it's okay. Whereas, you know, fast forward, I find a lot of people don't ask for help because they don't know their neighbor. So you can't anticipate someone's needs if you don't know who they are. So to get back to the question, you know, I was young, I had these big dreams. I wanted to be, you know, whatever, actor, model, you name it. I just thought, I want to try that. I want to try that. But there was a big gap. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have someone that said, okay, if you want to work in TV, you can study this in university, or you can go co-op here. You can, like, there was nobody to help guide. So I just figured, okay, if I get out of a small town, I need to go someplace big because there'll be more opportunities. And I literally just kind of went on my own. I didn't have a lot of plans. I was going to take some classes when I got here, but I just wanted to kind of be around and kind of see what I could discover. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people. I don't think, like, you know, the whole freelance world, it is not for everyone, and it's very difficult sometimes, but somehow I just managed. My goal was to make a living in this business, and I found mentors, and you know, I would ask questions. I would be on set, for example. I worked as a makeup artist, and I started doing, you know, makeup on commercials and TV and film and whatever. And I would sit and I would watch people. What, you know, what are you doing? What is that clapper loader thing? What are, you know, how are you labeling all these tapes? And I just learned. And I learned and I learned. And eventually I started working in different levels of production, and even as a producer and as a director. And the more work that you've done behind the camera, the better you are on camera. So it's all kind of come full circle. Yeah, but you know, I had to really think outside the box and just kind of step way outside my comfort zone and make that happen. But you know, it's not easy. It really, you know, that's why now I try and mentor people as much as I possibly can. And I don't know that that is the best route for everybody to take. But I think, you know, I learned a lot through that, and I'm always happy to share that with other people. So thank you for the opportunity to even talk about it. A lot of people don't want to talk, you know, they're like, what? They want a more defined route. If you take this course, then you'll work in this. But in the creative realm, sometimes it's not really that direct.
And I think you really touched on something so important, Joan, is that if you look back, you and I are in about the same space, age range, and you know, the young range. But there was not a lot of female role models. And if they were, we just didn't know about them. Not that they weren't female role models, but there just they weren't out like we champion for them now, where we want them to be on a platform so we can learn from them and we can follow in their footsteps. And so how, like, that's a really interesting thing, is that
So do you think that was a Western?
go.
do you think that was a Western Canada thing, or do you think that was a generational thing at that time?
Honestly, when I launched in 2014, there weren't female role models whatsoever. There just were not. And when I launched Woman of Inspiration, you know, as we told, you know, championing for, you know, a woman that inspired me, why would you want to do this? And I said, well, you're inspiring and people need to know what you do so they can follow in your footsteps. And so it's really interesting because it's really only went fast forward like in the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking back, even talking about collaboration, inclusiveness, like nobody talked about that when I started. Now it's a sexy word, right? Not talking about it, not incorporating that into your business or your culture, you're being left kind of in the dust. Like everybody's scrambling to catch up with that. So, you know, that's a great question. I just think that we were, number one, social media has helped that a little bit because we're able to look inside, like your home, my home, the businesses, inside the lives. I think that's really helped a lot. But it just wasn't at the forefront. Our women empowerment, we only really started celebrating International Women's Day 4 years ago. If you look back to really when it exploded, 3 to 4 years ago. Now everybody celebrates it.
Wow.
Right?
I also think it's an expectation thing. Like, you know, when I left Saskatchewan to move, I remember clearly people saying to me, you know what, if it doesn't work out, you can always come home. Like they're like, yeah, go try your little thing and see what happens. But you can always come home with the expectation of, you know, marrying a nice local boy and having a nice, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, you know, it's hard for a family to let their daughter, you know, here, out you go. But I think that part is changing. The expectation of her having success is now there. Whereas I think it was sort of like so unknown. People were, yeah, we'll support you because we love you, but we're not really sure. So I think that part has changed a lot. And that's a lot more equal between male and female now.
And I think that comes with conversation, that comes with education. And, you know, it's true. You know, we're now raising strong women. We're raising boys that know how to treat women.
Yes.
So it is generational for sure. And no fault. It's just now we're using our voices to talk about it and make change for the positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Make change and really standing up for ourselves. And, you know, just an example, as I was, you know, waiting to get on this call, I was looking on Facebook. There's a girl who's a nurse that I grew up with in Saskatchewan. She's in Edmonton, and I was just really proud of her because she really put her foot down, and someone had obviously made a comment about, oh, she used to be a smoker and smokers are, you know, you shouldn't smoke because then you're taxing the system because then you get COVID-19 or something like that. And you know, her response, she put her foot down and said, you know what, that was me. Here's the circumstance of my life, you know, why I chose to smoke as a teenager. Since then, I have now been a frontline worker for 30 years and I am a nurse. And, you know, I just was so proud that she would stand up for herself like that. So much so, you know, that inspires me. That's one thing with COVID right now. I think, you know, a lot of the riffraff is receding. And so what's important is staying in the forefront, and it's people and relationships. What's important, your, you know, your title, your bank account, you know, all those things are really insignificant. Like what you said, Monica, you know, people ask, how are you? It's because it's how are you? It's not how's your situation? Because everybody drives themselves crazy by just, you know, comparing themselves all the time. And now on social media, it's like, we're all doing the same thing. So there's really nothing to compare anything to. And I just think it's really kind of leveled the playing field. So if you're looking for positive things, which I try and do as much as I can, that's definitely one.
I like that, level the playing field. I also heard a great meme that Elizabeth shared. She says, it's almost as if Mother Nature is sending us all to our rooms.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
time out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And to think about things. And, you know, there's also a time to create. Like, we're in a transformative time. So I think that it's a time that we can get excited. There's lots of devastation. There's lots of things that are uncertain, and those are scary, and those are really normal feelings. But there's lots to get excited about, because there's always a door to. We can like you said, let's let go of what doesn't work, and let's work towards something that's more meaningful and that actually does work for us. So it's a real reset right now with a lot of people. So it's really lovely to see, you know, other people that are, you know, trying to keep as positive as possible, because there's a real great, the humanity that's happening out there is just, it gives me goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the fact, I love spring is my favorite season, and just the fact that it's spring, which is always a new beginning and new birth and new, like everything just kind of coming back to life. I think the timing, you know, hopefully we'll get through this sooner than later, but I think the timing will be really nice.
So let me ask you something. What have you been doing to be? You've been home. You've been, you know, focusing on the family. But what sort of has been inspiring you through this time of COVID?
Yeah, well, since March 13th, you know, I've really only been going out for groceries, or one time I dropped some groceries at someone's house that that really needed it. But other than that, I just think it's the most responsible thing. And because we weren't sure, do I get to see my mom or not get to see my mom? So I knew that I had to be healthy in order to see her, because I mean, God forbid if I ever passed it on to another person, I'd feel terrible. So that was kind of my initial motivation. But then now, you know, I don't know, the days are going so quickly, and I've got my kids home and I'm able to cook for them and care for them. And I just feel like that's really fueling me. I get my workout in every single day. And that's like my sanity, thank goodness. We're actually set up pretty well for it here, because we live out in the country, and so we can go outside and walk and, you know, not see anybody. And it's really weird to be this isolated, because, you know, we are such social creatures, and I think everybody's really feeling that pain. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, everybody's on social media constantly. I'm actually taking more time, though, if it's somebody that I follow that I'm really interested in, to really read what they're saying, because you know that they've had time to put their heart and soul into it. It's probably, if it's something substantial, to take the time and resonate with it. And you know, never have I had the luxury of so much time to actually, you know, do my stretching, do some meditation, you know, have longer conversations. Like, those things are what we should be focusing on right now, I think.
That's great. I love that you're sticking to some family and routines right now. Love to know, what are your routines? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
oh my God, I'm trying to
like, I'd
clean out
love
our
to.
storage room. Oh my goodness, it is mayhem. So now I've had to reduce it. Instead of just, okay, let's just do this and get it done, I'm going through like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 bins a day. And that's enough. Like, that, each one of those is even like an emotional walk down memory lane. Why did I keep this thing? What's important? Or I forgot all about that. You know, so I'm trying to enjoy the process instead of just getting through. Although I seem to be making a big mess. I've got piles, giveaway piles, keep piles, piles for this kid to look at. So it's not like anything is getting tidier along the way.
But you're shedding and you're resetting, you're transforming right now. So I picture in my mind that we're all like these little butterflies, you know, in that larva stage right now, where we're just kind of curled up and snuggled. And, you know, I don't know one person that I've talked to that is not going through and cleaning and organizing and just shedding what they don't really need anymore, recycling, donating, and I guess that is another conversation, how we can donate these items that aren't serving us anymore. But it's kind of like, do you feel lighter at the end of the day, even though
I feel like I'm still in the middle of it.
Are you lighter?
I feel like I'm still in the middle of it. I've still got so much to do that I'm not there yet. And I'm waiting for that because I need that. But I'm also trying not to be hard on myself, like, oh, I haven't completed this task yet. So I'm just trying to let it all go. And, taking up the guitar, that's not that I couldn't even say that I've taken it up. I'm trying a little bit, even though I haven't got rid of my nails yet. But that's something that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And that's something I'm enjoying with my son and with my husband. So that type of thing makes me feel lighter. But the cleaning and stuff, it's like, wow, this is really hard.
Well, I'm sure that there's going to be some things that we're going to want to stick to our guns once everything gets back to normal. I'd love to have your insight. Are you thinking about more coming out of this, or are you enjoying kind of the pause? Because I've talked to many people, and I myself am thinking about 6 months from now. I'm busy planning for 6 months so we can celebrate those unsung heroes that are working the front lines, our new heroes that were not heroes before. They were kind of the unsung ones, like our health ministers, our frontline people. There's just so much respect for those people that are bravely stepping into that spotlight. So I'm focused on really focused on 6 to 7 months coming out after the fact. And that's where my headspace is right now. So are you looking forward to, are you getting excited about the other side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. And, as I mentioned, I've got some opportunities for my brand, but just economically, like, how is the world going to land from this? Because are investors going to still invest in those things that they were interested in before? They're also purging and cleaning and getting rid of things. So, I don't know. I don't want to like pin myself down too much. I want to keep it fluid and just say, if this opportunity was meant to be, then it's meant to be, and I'll do my best with this, and I'll try that, and have the fluidity to be open to new things, because there's so many new things that are coming and going so quickly. And like even a Zoom call like this is new, and it's all happening right now. So you got to kind of figure out what's going to work for you and your business. But to answer the question, I think you have to kind of straddle both. I think you have to enjoy this time for what it is, find all the positive things you can, but also to be responsible, you have to have a plan going forward. Despite all the cancellations and everything, you have to have a plan for yourself personally, for your family, for your business, for your philanthropy, for everything.
So let's talk about the philanthropy piece. You're very involved with World Vision. So have you been in contact with the World Vision through this? I mean, this is certainly nothing that we've ever experienced before. So have you seen how they're handling everything right now on a global scale?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. A lot of people are reaching out to me on social media and like directly asking for something. Here's my situation, can you help? And I can't do that. So I'm choosing to support various organizations, and even organizations are asking, can you please help spread the word? And I think in doing that, you have to explain why this is so important for these people right now. And there's so many little gaps that you may not even think of. Like there's an organization called the Equal Chance Foundation, which is for international students. And a lot of people think, oh, a family from overseas must have a lot of money in order to send their child to university in Canada. But that's really not the case. Sometimes the family gets together and really, gives everything that they can to send one child to get the proper education so that they can get a better life and then start to support the rest of the family. So there's a lot of international students here that are, you know, they don't have a home here. They're either stuck in a dorm, or where are they going to go? So there's like a little gap that nobody, or it may not even have occurred to people if they didn't know about it. There's other organizations, like In From the Cold is one that I had supported before. It's a shelter, obviously, you know, more for winter months and cold weather, but now they're staying open later because there's so many homeless people that don't have anywhere to go. And so they're out on the street, and you know, they're not getting the information. They don't have gloves and masks. And, you know, so there's good people doing a lot of good work. And, you know, so I've been supporting like the Diaper Bank and Breakfast Club of Canada and CNIB and other ones as much as possible, and trying to share the information about why we also need to look at those ones right now.
I can imagine that it probably gets pretty overwhelming because everybody needs help. Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, you know, like I can't even imagine, you know, when you're in the space of giving, that everybody wants something that's got to be pretty challenging and draining on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I mean, one person. And
I'm always happy to learn about the charity. Number one, if it's something new, here's my process. You have to do your research. You have to look at their structure. You got to look at the bottom line. Where does their funding come from? How much is volunteers? How much is not? I always follow my heart. How do I feel about this? And you can't support everything and everyone. You have to make your choices based on your own criteria. So, you know, it's really hard. Like, it's hard to say no when you're someone that likes to help so much, but you really can't do it all. So I don't know. It's there's no magic rule there.
Well, I think you do an amazing job touching so many people on so many different levels. I've never met someone so giving, Joan. Like, you really, like, in your title, it's first philanthropist. You're humanitarian. It's running through your brains. And it's from your early upbringing and your grounded roots that your family provided to you that has, in my view of who you are and what you've become, is that you're a hard worker. You know, and I think that's so important for people to see, is that here's all the glitz, here's all the glamour, and here's all these beautiful clothes and, you know, the hair and the makeup, but there is a woman that worked hard, believed in herself, took opportunities, and never gave up. And that, you know, it's beautiful. I think everything that you've done and you've touched on, you're just such an inspiration. And, you know, of course, a woman of inspiration. So I'm super, super happy to have had this time and opportunity. You know, these are the conversations that we don't normally get to have. They're real, they're authentic. You know, my eyes are watering up, you know, speaking about things that are so meaningful, you know. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your family time right now, because this is real sacred time. It's on Sunday, you know, so there's lots of things that you could be doing, like cleaning the bins. No, just kidding. But I really appreciate, you know, how much you're involved with Woman of Inspiration and helping us, you know, move that forward. It's so important. And you're such a role model for women, for people.
Well, thank you. You know, I don't know how our timing is, but just one point I wanted to make.
I could go on forever.
Okay, me too. One point that is really important, you know, getting back to being a spokesperson for World Vision and a few other organizations, you know, a lot of times you give a donation to a charity or you support however you support, and then you don't really know, like, there's no follow-up. They send you letters of your sponsored child or something, but you don't have that opportunity to to really see it. So that's one thing that's unique that I've had blessings in my life that I've been able to do. I have sponsored, like an area development program, wherever in Mozambique or whatever. And then I actually go there. Like, how are they spending my money? What is the plan? Are they sticking to the plan that, they had explained to me before? And I meet the people and I see the work, and then I'm able to come back. And if it wasn't right, then I'm not going to continue to support that. But obviously, if it is right, it's such a beauty and such a luxury for me to share that experience and to really say, I believe in this because. So that is, it's really key. And not everybody's gonna, write a check for something and then go, wherever, to whatever country to go and follow up on it. But I find that those experiences have fueled my heart like nothing. Like, you can't compare it to anything. And I think it was, 2 years ago or so, I took my kids for the first time. I didn't want to take them when they were too young because I'd been on some trips with other people's kids, that was younger, and I could just see it's a lot to process. So I feel very blessed that I've had those experiences and that I'm able to talk about it and share about it. And it's been really invaluable for me. And now I'm writing for Living Lux magazine. I write the charity column for them. And, it's just drawing from the heart. It's not an intellectual, article that I'm writing. And even the Women of Inspiration Awards, speaking in front of that audience is such an honor because it's all from the heart and it's all just sharing. And your audience in particular is really, they're real people and they understand and they're thoughtful and, and hardworking. You put all that together and it's sharing understanding and sharing experiences with people in the forefront. And I think that's what moves the world ahead in philanthropy or in any other business.
No, I thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sending you a great big heart. For those that are listening and can't see, I'm just sending a heart, a virtual social distance heart over the screen here, because I really do appreciate that. That is definitely something that we're trying to create. And, as I'm navigating through this, leading with inspiration is really what we're doing, and you can't get bigger than the universe. So, right? So it touches so many different people and it doesn't exclude anybody, but you do have to have the right mindset. You've got to be, wanting to give, wanting to help. Increase that circle of reciprocity is so important. And, not everybody can give money, but what everybody can give is their expertise. They can mentor somebody. They could, support, talk about something that they believe in. There are so many other different ways that we can help serve each other right now. And I think that's so important as we come out of this.
Just sharing information on social media, just saying, oh, I came across this looks like a great cause. Just put it out there, get it in front of other people, because you never know where it's going to go.
And I'm just going to do a little shameless advertising here, like nominate those people that are inspiring you. Yes. Like, Joan, how did it feel? I mean, when you were nominated, how did that feel for you?
Well, so exciting. And I didn't know, which category it was. So yeah, it's like, here I'm getting all emotional again. It's just, I think we need to celebrate each other as often as possible. And especially women. There's so many women that are the doers. They're behind the scenes. They're holding it all together and they don't get celebrated. And, everyone has something to celebrate. You don't have to be a celebrity or, have a big title or anything like that. My advice to women is, just be kind to yourself and believe in yourself and your friends. And I mean, that's why women lean on each other so much, I think. And to take it to the next level and actually nominate someone is one of the biggest gifts you could give someone, to tell them how much you love them and respect them.
And I believe, okay, so, and I was just going to add to that. you know, I haven't met one woman that was not completely humbled, filled with gratitude, or thought that they were truly deserving of the recognition. Not one person. Just because we do what we do because we love what we do, not because we expect something for it. But I always champion and I say, if you don't step into the spotlight, then others can't follow in your footsteps. So, you know, for those that are watching or listening, you know, giving somebody that kudos to say, you know, I really love what you're doing. You know, I just want to say thank you for inspiring me is such a beautiful gift, and it doesn't cost anything to do it. So I think now even more important, the unsung heroes, those people that you watch from afar, just do it. Just do it. Right?
And I love that you're doing it in this way.
Well, thank you. And, you know, as I'm bringing on the Woman of Inspiration alumni that are leaders of doing it, you know, you walk the talk, you lead the example. It's not like you're there with the awards and you're walking off stage and then you're a different person anymore. You're actually continuing to, you know, continue your leadership. And that's what it's all about. You're giving back, you're inspiring, you're helping serve others. That's the way it should be. So thank you for, you know, for continuing to inspire other women and to give the way you give, which is amazing. It's beautiful. So thank you, Joan. I could have another conversation. We'll probably wrap up in the green room after this. I'm going to say hello to everybody that's joining. I'm just going to give you a little wave here. We're going to, sorry, I haven't paid attention onto this, onto the Instagram here, but it's been a really pleasure having you on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. For those that are listening, we had an amazing talk with Joan Kelley Walker. She is first and foremost a philanthropist. She is a mom. She is a woman of inspiration who's making a global impact in the world. She is a reality TV star for the Real Housewives of Toronto. But Joan is a relatable woman. She is a creative, she's a serial entrepreneur, and one woman that you need to watch and keep on your radar, because you continue to evolve and do great things in the world. So thank you so much, Joan. It was a pleasure having you, and I look forward to having you come speak at the Success Summit and Women of Inspiration in the fall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for having me. This has been so great.
It's been great. We're going to have another one, and then we can talk about the other side when we get to the other side.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.